did not have a real beautiful ayah like that. I had a whole series of very ugly ayahs. But I mean, certain scenes in the beginning of the book are to an extent autobiographical, based on my life and the relationship between my parents are portrayed. My poor parents have been portrayed in every book of mine. You know, you can always borrow from your relatives, which I do from Maruti one of these days, because the relatives aren't always very angry at you. They eventually forgive you. But with friends, I'm very careful. I don't write about them unless I really disguise them very thoroughly.
So the Ice Candy Man and the Master are all fiction?
They're totally created characters, yeah. The Parsi characters are mostly based on people I knew, like Godmother was an aunt. She wasn't related, but somebody who nurtured me as a child, you know. So there were some I knew, but then all Aya, Ice Candy Man, Master, these are all created characters. Based some I did, when I read stories, of what had happened during partition. And I had read this one story of a Sikh woman, I forget which way it was. She was kidnapped and taken away to Amritsar. And then the Muslim man, one man followed her there and was totally in love with her. And I based part of it, you just pick up as an author, you pick up like a magpie from all sorts of little things that you hear, So these were, and again, like the poor people, nobody knew what partition meant, what Pakistan meant, what Hindustan meant. Angrez jayenge, kyun ja rahe hain? It was really the politicians manipulating something. It was not the will of the people. It was not the poor people who wanted this, and they were the ones who suffered. I mean, over 2 million people were butchered. So many women were, it was a horrible time to go through. Something like what's happening just now in Syria. That was a scene happening in the Punjab, I mean, I saw just flames all over the sky. Houses burning. Our Hindu and Sikh neighbors had come and brought their belongings to our house, thinking we would store them, and they thought they would come back, and they could never return. And my mother and aunt used to, in those days, petrol was not available, gas was not easily available. And my mother and aunt would fill cans of petrol as much as they could take, and there used to be a little further away camp where all the Hindu women, men used to gather, and they used to leave it there so that people could take that and escape. On the other side of the border, there were a lot of acts of kindness on both sides of the border also. But there was something which, a very strange thing, as an author, you learn to become a man, you learn to become a woman, you can go into a man's body, a child's body, a woman's body, you can inhabit all kinds of bodies. But one thing I could not understand at all was what happened during partition and what is happening in Syria and many places, something called bloodlust. That is something which I don't think women can fathom, and yet somehow or the other, I don't know, men seem to go mad during these times and can do all sorts of these atrocious things.
In India, we have the wrath of a woman much worse than that of any man. But in Kali, Durga, the Catholic form of Durga is Kali.
Haji.
With her bleeding tongue sticking out.
Yes.
And her anger is the demons.
Yeah.
Her anger is compared to nothing that can exist.
The anger is different.
And have wrath.
But this bloodlust.
She wears this whole garland of men's heads that she has beheaded.
But that is it's part of a religious myth.
But myth casts symbols, they are metaphors.
And I'm sure part of
They are metaphors for the conquering that she wanted to do.
Yeah.
These are symbols.
I think if you go in your heart, I don't think it's so easy for a woman to shed blood.
If you go into the heart, it is not easy for a man or a woman to shed blood.
So men somehow do it at that
They
time.
close their heart.
Well, if you were in the Punjab at that time, you'd have seen something quite horrible going on. And it was just, literally, whole trainloads were butchered. It wasn't that one man was stabbed or two men. Whole trainloads of raped. It wasn't just that they raped the women. They did very sadistic things to the women. They cut their breasts. If they were pregnant, they cut their stomachs and took out the babies. Something very, very bad happened. And of course, there are certain things, if you see, you do go crazy. Like this one man was describing that he went to, this man once described it to me, he went to the station thrice in a row to get his sisters. And he found 3 of his sisters on the train were missing and they were dead. And he said, I went mad when I saw all those bodies there. And he said, I went and threw bombs and these Molotov cocktails into the houses of neighbors I'd known for so long. You can't see certain things without going mad. And this whole cycle of vendetta and viciousness starts. Listen, we have to learn from history and not allow this to happen. We have to learn to be empathic, compassionate, and not allow this to happen. Because no matter what your religion, you belong to the same Lucy who was born, the same DNA of the Lucy who was born in Africa. So the same blood runs through us all. And one has to learn to be tolerant of everybody. Well, I don't want to be preachy, I'm so sorry. Would there be other questions?
Any other questions that we have? This is the last one that we did.
Ma'am, what are you working on right now?
I just finished my first collection of short stories called Their Language of Love. It got published by Penguin in India, and it's still being reviewed all over. Go and buy it. It's called Their Language of Love.
That's the direct sale for you. Go and buy it.
Ma'am, I want to know that, I'm saying that this lack of formal education that you went through as a child, did it help you to become a better writer? Because sometimes formal education cramps our style and takes away a lot of our creativity.
This is a very important question you asked, because just now my grandchild is growing up and his mother is all the time, ye homework karo, ye karo, And I think that nobody ever was after me to do anything, because the doctor said, that polio makes your nerves go bad and don't strain her nerves, and she's just going to get married and produce babies. She isn't going to become a doctor or a professor. And ironically, I did become a professor, But, anybody needs time in which to be totally unencumbered, so that then they dig into themselves and start to develop what is within themselves. Formal education all the time is good. Of course, I like discipline to this day. I'm never on time, and I could never sit afterwards when I went to college. I couldn't sit in class, But you have to allow a certain fallow time for a child to dream, to bring out their own creativity. I think there is a lot to be said for that also. Good with that. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. There it is. Okay.
After reading Ice Candy Man, I just couldn't lay my hands on any book. I didn't like anything to read after the book. I don't know. Have you heard any comments similar to that? I might be a Parsi couple in Lahore, is it that? And I have a puppy, was a puppy in Lahore, Zamanin. Family went to Karachi. There was nobody in Karachi. went from Aligarh to Karachi, they settled there. I had Dr. Usmani, the Baba of Pakistan, who happened to be in East Pakistan. His wife was a Punjabi. He couldn't opt for India, so he went to Punjab. He did well for himself. But after this book, like the Kaiklana, why? I don't know.
You found that after this book you
Nothing
lost...
jamta nahi tha mere saath mein kuch.
Did you lose your love of reading or what?
Oh no, I didn't lose it, but could I find another book that will match this in story,
Oh,
in
no.
action, that kind of thing.
Thank you,
And
Nana.
partition.
It's a compliment that came across in a wrong way. Thank you so much.
Well, Kushwan Singh said it's the best book written on the partition.
And then Mando story and his style, my literature. So, what's up,
Mutter's stories are beautiful, but they're very short. They don't go into the complexity of yeah. I was very lucky in being able to do this. I pulled it off.
That's how I came to know. I mean, probably in Karachi also. Somebody says it.
Are you from your Sindhi?
No.
No.
I have a Polish mother, so you can mistake me for a Sindhi.
Oh,
Polish from the Holocaust. My grandparents died in the Holocaust. Partition of India as well. So the combination of this has affected me. And my hats off to those people who have sacrificed their lives so that we are alive today. And I see today in the morning TV, फिर मैंने मुजफ्फरनगर का देखा, तो मैंने नहीं देखा था बहुत days we were given Arushi and etc. The fest with Goa and all, and Muzaffarnagar today, it's another heartbreaking.
really?
Yes. So
Yes, of course.
it's very heartbreaking. हम वापस मुजफ्फरनगर नहीं जाना चाहते हैं. हम यहीं रहेंगे. 40,000 of them.
Who likes to uproot themselves?
किसी की अम्मा, किसी की this you should see in the video. I don't know whether many of them have seen it. I didn't see it till today. Because
Nobody likes to be uprooted. You know that you belong to your soil, no matter what.
पर जम्मू में हुआ है हिंदुस्तान में कितने जगह
I mean, I've gone to America, but all the time this soil, especially Bombay, you know, and you know this Bombay is the adda for the Parsis, you know. So I feel a great sense of being embedded in my community. I always feel marginalized elsewhere, but in Bombay I feel very much a part that this is where I belong. I wish I could become a Bombayite again. I was a Bombayite for 6 years, you know. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We do that, but before we leave, wasn't it a moment to capture when she said, I won't lay hands on any other book? The moment you're, oh my god, really? Ma'am, I had a question for you. Talking about all the fiction characters, what happened to the real character who wanted to be? What happened to the real character who wanted to be?
There was a man on top of the heap, he wanted to pee. But you know, I laughed so much I forgot to ask Deepa. Obviously, they did the whole scene because I saw the film.
Good, he was a man at the top of the heap. Otherwise, he would have troubled the others. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. But before we take a leave and call this a session, we very much like to thank our sponsors, which is our presenting sponsor, the Lodha Group, our studio partners, Aditya Birla Group and Yes Bank, our telecom partners, Vodafone, bookstore partner, Crossword, you can pick up some books from there. Partner for beautiful hair, Dove, Kids Session, partner HDFC Home Loans, partner in excellence, Brook Bond, Taj Mahal, sound partner, Bose, hospitality partner, Trident, our partner, Monte Grappa and Times Now, and Radio Mirchi 98.3, it's hot. Lastly, the Times Literary Carnival 2013 is an initiative of the Times Red Cell. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session having you here. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you so much, Papsi Silva, ma'am.